Hey everybody, it is Wintermute coming to you from the think tank. What I'm going to do is I'm going to continue with the series of videos where I was kind of talking about some of the timing and the rules that go along with that. And in that vein, I need to kind of clarify some of the rules for blitzing and timing and screening forces and timing and how scrambling interacts with that because I made the mistake of kind of lumping blitzing and screening forces mentally together. They're kind of the same core concept is you go in, you have a fight, you win that fight, and then you kind of keep on moving. So they're the same thing in theory, but in execution, they are very, very different. I think I've got it nailed down now. So I kind of want to take a crack at kind of clarifying some things. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do like three smaller videos now to kind of address each one. We're going to start with blitzing, go into screening forces, and then I've got one other video about timing that I want to do. I will hopefully get all three done today, and they shouldn't be terribly long. None of them should be terribly long. So hopefully we'll get them all done today. And I am going to make some clarifications and some questions that came up in my head that I recently got answered, just to kind of hopefully cover it for everybody a little bit easier and better. So we're going to start with addressing blitzing. So we're just going to, say this is set up for whatever reason. Yeah, I know these are Russian units. Don't overthink it. So for clarification, let's say these units attack here to retake it from the Germans. When they go in here to attack, that initiates a combat that will need to be rolled later. He then goes on and finishes his combat moves. This player does not need to declare where he will be blitzing or that he will be blitzing during the combat movement phase. So he doesn't know, and the opponent doesn't know whether he will be blitzing into another territory from here until after this combat. Okay, so now let's say he does all the rest of his combat moves. He then, at the end of the combat, before he moves on to another combat, he needs to decide whether or not he's going to blitz or not at that point. He has to decide that before he moves on to another combat. So, to kind of clarify, let's say these guys attack here and these guys attack here, and he plans on going here with their blitz, with both of them to blitz into this territory. So he wins this, he wins this. Now he wins this one, and he then has to say, before he moves on to the next combat, I'm going to go into here and initiate a new combat. He cannot roll this and then roll this to see how the combats work out and then go, okay, well, I came out better here than I thought, so I'm going to go here and then I'm going to go here after each combat has been rolled. He has to make the decision at the end of the combat before he moves on to another combat. And that's kind of an important thing, because if you have several, like just in this example, if you have several combats like this that are initiated, and then where you send your blitzers later may change depending on how those combats go, but you have to make the decision to blitz before moving on to the next combat. You can't wait to see how they all turn out. Also, obviously, attackers can come from various territories, so there's no issue if this guy comes here and this guy comes here. But I also clarified that if these guys come here as one group, they can blitz into separate territories. They don't all have to blitz, because the rules don't clearly state that you can. It says that they can initiate a new combat. A new combat. So you could read that to mean that all the units coming from this combat would have to blitz to the same territory, but it turns out not the case, or land zone, excuse me. It's not the case. So once this combat is done, I could move these guys here and here. But again, I would have to make that decision once this combat is completed, assuming I meet the requirements for blitz, and then I would have to make that decision before moving on to roll any other combats. And then these would become separate combats on their own. So my initial statement of you cannot, let's say there's an airfield here, because these guys come here and they wait, and they don't have to declare where they're going to blitz or the target of their blitz. Once a unit blitzes, it cannot be, that blitz combat cannot have fighters scrambled into it. There's no chance to be able to scramble fighters into a combat blitz because the combat isn't initiated yet. And all scrambling happens at the end of the attacker's combat movement phase. And that this is going to be, now, right now it's not, yeah, okay, that makes sense, but it's going to become more important that I clarify that now when I go into screening forces, because screening forces get a little messier in trying to understand that. So, again, if that wasn't clear, ask me to clarify it. I can always, do another video or give another example that will kind of clarify things. But yeah, that's the way I understand blitzing at this point. And if anybody has any questions, leave comments below and we'll go from there. I'm going to try to get the other 2 videos that I want to get done for this done later today. And then, like I said, a couple smaller videos I think would be easier for you to make rather than one big video, which is kind of what this turned into. So for right now, this is Wintermute signing off.